G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And many hail the 1990s as being the golden era for Japanese cars. Every manufacturer was producing a legendary two-door sports car. Mitsubishi had the GTO, Honda the NSX, Nissan the GTR and 300ZX, Toyota the Supra, and Subaru the SVX. And the feature that united all of those 90s JDM sports cars was a 6-cylinder, often twin turbocharged engine. But Mazda was the one brand to break that trend when they came to make their legendary 90s two-door sports car. Yes, of course, this is the FD RX7, and today we're going to see what this twin turbocharged rotary powered sports car is like in 2025. That is a 1.3 litre twin rotor engine. Now normally a 1.3 litre would be reserved for small economy hatchbacks, certainly not two-door sports cars, but of course it is a twin rotor. Rotary engines produce a lot of power for their displacement because they have twice as many power strokes per rotation of the engine. In many ways they're kind of like a really fancy two-stroke engine, which gives them a unique sound and a lot of power. The Mazda RX-8 that came after this makes 170 kilowatt from just a little tiny 1.3 litre engine. But the older RX-7 is arguably even more legendary because this 13B REW engine is not just a 1.3 litre twin rotor, but it is twin turbocharged, meaning this makes the gentleman's agreement 280 horsepower or 206 kilowatts of power and 330 newton meters of torque. It revs to over 7,000 RPM and is paired up with a 5-speed manual transmission, sending its power to the rear wheels. The interior is actually a pretty nice place to sit, helped out significantly by the fact this car is an extremely low mileage example. I love the steering wheel, a nice simple design with the classic perforated leather that a lot of sports steering wheels from the 90s had. The gauge cluster is absolutely perfect, with the all-important oil temperature and oil pressure gauges, a central mounted tachometer that revs to nearly 8,000 RPM. The vents across the dash are quite funny. They're really small and frankly a bit flimsy feeling, but all of these climate controls here in the middle are simple and feel nice, even if they have a bit of a strange design to them. The door handles are also very interesting, a little latch that you lift up. The transmission tunnel is absolutely enormous because of course the gearbox is right under here, and all of the pedals are offset to one side, so the driving position is definitely not the best that I've ever seen. Incredibly, Mazda decided to install back seats. Why? I have no idea. I can't see how anyone would possibly be able to sit back there. So overall, this RX-7 really is everything that you expect from a 90s sports car. A very cramped interior with a lot of plastic, but it's actually reasonably well screwed together on the inside here. Very timeless looks on the outside, and now it's time to find out how this thing drives. Driving the Mazda RX-7. Let's put this twin turbo, twin rotor to use. Oh, okay. I didn't mention before, but this thing actually has sequential turbochargers, which means there's a smaller one for lower RPM and then it feeds into a larger one at higher RPM, and you really feel it. You know, 4,000 RPM, small turbo, 5,000, big turbo kicks in. And it revs right out to 7,800 RPM, which is just fantastic. It kind of almost feels naturally aspirated because there isn't very much lag, but it also has the sensation of coming on the cams that it doesn't have because, you know, put your foot down at 3.5, not much, and then 5, bang, second turbo hits, and it revs right out to 8 grand. Look at that. I can only imagine though, one of these things with a stock exhaust would be so quiet, because even with the huge muffler this thing's got on it, it's still not a loud engine at all, eh? And what I love about this particular example, and I suppose this applies to all RX-7s, is just how usable it is. Something that's annoyed me about a lot of JDM sports cars is that they are just made for driving, and so comfort is just thrown out the window, which means that for a short drive they are fantastic fun, but when you get them up to motorway speeds on a few lumps and bumps, they're so loud, uncomfortable, rattly. This is not like that at all. This is a perfectly usable and very nice to drive GT car that happens to have a really fantastic engine. So first impressions are great. This thing is a lovely car to drive. It's comfortable, it's smooth, but it still fundamentally feels really light and nimble, and the engine is just awesome. When that second turbo kicks in, right to 8,000 RPM. Because they are so light and all of the weight is so low down, they have an unbelievable sense of nimbleness, and that's definitely the case with this car. Fantastic feeling hydraulic steering. It's a fairly slow rack, I must say. You know, you've got to turn the wheel a reasonable amount to get it to turn in, but it just feels so nimble, and it's pretty fast, eh? Right to 8 grand, look at that. But what's weird about it is that you look down, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing 8,000 RPM, but it sounds like you're only doing like 6, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, it's really cool that it just so effortlessly revs out, but it also revs ridiculously high, but just sort of doesn't really feel like it's revving so high because it's just so easy for it to rev right to 8,000 RPM. And I'm surprised too, given this thing isn't exactly on amazing tires, how well it puts the power down. Oh, that's just perfect. I still come back to the same problem that I have with all of these old Japanese cars, and that is that they are awesome to drive, but I don't know what this thing will be worth, maybe 40, 50 grand, but you can buy cars that are much newer, much faster, and arguably just as good to drive for the same, if not less money. But we put the price aside, it really is a truly brilliant driving experience. You know, foot to the floor, corner exit there, and it just puts the power down right to 8,000 RPM. And while it would be nice to be able to go through second and third gear, you know, if you just leave it in second, 6,000, 7,000, oh, it's a pretty special driving experience, man. This thing is great. And when the second turbo kicks in, you really feel it. I love engines that encourage you to wind it out. 8,000 RPM into third. Oh, when you get to third, this thing gets on the move, eh? Far out, it really does. And of course, rear-wheel drive. Whoa, okay, yep, that's quite snappy. Oh, it's just great. It's so awesome. Oh yeah, those tyres are not putting down the power in first, but second. Oh, that's awesome. Well done, Mazda. You have made a brilliant driving car, and these are absolutely better than the RX-8. The RX-8 has a few more features, definitely a nicer interior, and is more practical with those sort of semi-usable back seats. And while the engine, you know, revving to 9,500 RPM is arguably a bit more special than the 8,000 RPM this goes to, that engine feels like it's got about 200 horsepower. This thing actually feels like a potent engine. And so with that, I shall say thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the RX-7. Again, my apologies for probably the worst weather conditions I've ever filmed a review in. But nonetheless, we had a bit of a dry spell there, enough to show you how brilliant this RX-7 is. And I will look forward to seeing you again next time.